Beethoven is known for having written whole symphonies with just a very little cell of an idea. Take just this. And that's almost all the first movement of that symphony. And Sor is said to be the Beethoven of the guitar. Here is a little piece of formal perfection, of formal beauty, which has very little rhythmical ideas actually, but those little ideas to which Sor has been forced in this study can develop all the movement. And that's quite Beethoven-like. In my last video, I already talked about the scale and how it comes to life by metrical position. Just look at this scale that Sor wrote in this study, Opus 44, number 15, because it seems to follow just a school assignment. Write an easy guitar study in D major, use the notes from A to D, use the scale only. 4 bars and touch a perfect cadence. And this is D major, just the scale downwards. We have a little pickup, which makes sure that we have the 5th, the 3rd, and the root of the D major triad. It's going on. This seemed to be just 4 notes. Well, these are 4 notes, but combined with the D. We run through G major, which is the 4th grade. And then a little turnaround in the direction because we are ascending, anyway, still in scale. And this little motive runs from E to A, which is the 4th, and so A major. And at the end, D major again. If we play the A, last note of the 4 of the motive before, we have just we had in the beginning. The 2 semi-quavers, the 16th note in here, are needed for the metrical position. So this rhythm is not quite a free choice, but a necessity in order to have the 5th, the 3rd, and the 1st, and the root in a pickup. If he had this beginning, it would not be quite the same thing. And as we have only 1/8 note time for the anacrusis, he had to write those 2 16ths. So this rhythm is forced by the assignment. The other 16th motif is in the 5th chord in the A major. And here, in order to stay in the assignment, to write only notes that are in the scale, Sor has to put in those 16ths because he has to reach from E to A. In 8th note, he would have had to add a 3rd. Something like this. In order to be still in scale, we need the 16ths. And so, there is a very, very basic rhythm born in this first 4 bars, which has a 16th pickup and 2 16th note on the second half of the first beat. And those rhythms will be important in the piece going on. Formal perfection in this study. It's practically a little sonata form. We have 2 thematic areas. The first one, perfectly only scales. And then the second one, which begins with the D major arpeggio. So he's running through the D major chord and then descending in 16th note, so faster than we were before, the A major scale with G sharp. So to say we have two thematical areas as in the sonata are asked. First, the melody in the main key D major, which is, and then a melody in the dominant key, which is A major. And as this is a scale study, both of those are practically scales. And you can easily not see that sonata form because, well, you're just playing scales. That can't be so dramatically important. I think it is. So let's go on what happens in the second part, because if this first part is in a sonata, we would talk about an exposition, and the next one would be the development. So let's see what happens. So don't be afraid of this image. But we have at the beginning of the second part, and I already mentioned that in the other video, we have the same incipit, the same beginning of the A part of the first theme, so to say. This is red here. And the really new thing here is that there is a response in the second voice, which actually brings the same leading motive, first motive of this theme. So Sor is working on his first theme by adding a second voice, doing that twice in a sequence. And harmonically he exposes the B7 chord to E minor. Then again A7 to D major. And now again an elaboration. The very first rhythmical motive of our first theme, so to say. And now in 16th on the second eighth of the first beat. And we had that actually in this part which connects the first theme area to the second theme area of the exposition, so to say. Here are a triad ascending, just as in this part. Not the same, but similar, so it's coming from that kind of idea. And after this, the very same idea Sor exposed here, which derives from the connecting part between the two themes in the exposition. He's going on 16th note and doing the downward scale, the descending scale, which follows the arpeggio of the chord. Here again, the ascending chord arpeggio. In the bass, following and. In this part, actually, we have all those triads ascending, and they are going through different keys, which is typical for a development in a sonata form. So we are here in B minor, then in E minor 6, which could be analyzed as a C major chord as well, but it's not too important what actually it is, because the lines are composed in counterpuntal way. So we have the D in the bass, the E, the F sharp, and the G. So the scale going up, accompanied by this line, B, C natural, now interesting, D sharp, and then going to E. And this combines two chords that could be analyzed in the way you read, but it's not too much important. What is important is that second chord, because this one sounds really special. The 16th part as in the second part unit, then 16th scale downwards from B, responded again by the bass. There's communication between the two parts, newly introduced in the development, which anyway refers to what he already invented in the exposition. So all scales in 16th. So Sor is working on his very first idea in D major as well as on his second idea in A major, which was just the scale, and the connection between those two parts, which was the triad in arpeggio ascending. Very intense. So this would be the development. And a series sonata at that point would have the recapitulation as well. Let's come to this. Melodically, the soprano just brings the first theme. But Hans Sor invented the second voice for the development. Here we have a perfect two-part harmony. That's great. A harmonization of what we presumed the harmonization was. So D major with D in the bass. G major. A major. And D major again. So our perfect cadence from the beginning again, now harmonized. And the last part is the ending, so it's not really a recapitulation of the second theme section. The piece probably is far too short for this because Sor stays perfectly in 32 bars. But in some ways, Sor confirms that his idea with the 16th notes can be part of rhythmical and motivic work and elaborations, even if it has been a necessity to stay in the rules of his assignment, as there was one, to write a perfect scale study. It's really short, it's really perfect, and it bases on ideas Sor is more or less forced to invent, rhythmically speaking, those two 16th notes. But for the rest, it's a perfect piece. So that's really great composing. So probably, really, Sor was the Beethoven of the guitar for that capacity to write music in a very, very little form. So a little jam in miniature, actually, which has all the things greater music can have. A sonata for a solo instrument, or the first movement of a symphony as well. Why not? Much more than just an easy progressive piece, as Sor called it. So again, here we are in the end part. And yeah, you're still here, so you liked it. You liked it. Okay, leave me a like, subscribe to the channel, and probably watch one of those other videos. Thank you. See you. Bye.